All right, so today we're going to be talking about the Stark Advisory Board and how this is the ultimate unfair advantage. Let's move into full screen here. All right, just confirming, can everybody see my screen? If I can get like a yes or something in the chat. All right, perfect. Okay, so why are we here today? Why is anybody looking to AI for help with anything? Business owners, people that are trying to build something, whether it be for profit, it could be a nonprofit organization, people that are trying to build something meaningful are often struggling. And they're not struggling because they're wrong, because they have a bad idea, because they're not intelligent. They're not struggling because they have a bad product. They're struggling because they're alone. And so you may relate to this. I know I definitely do. You may be struggling because you are making some of the most important decisions on your own and then hoping that you got it right. So at a certain level, business stops being about how much effort you throw at it, how much money you throw at it. It becomes about major decisions. And the truth is, you're making the most important decisions with an incomplete perspective and no real advisory pressure. It's not because you want to, it's because you have no alternative. So what do? You guess, you justify, you move forward, and you hope that you're doing the right thing. But what does that actually lead to? Well, there's a cost to that. And the cost of isolation is failed launches and campaigns. How many people have ever tried to launch a Facebook ad campaign or a LinkedIn ad campaign or done something that they thought was going to get them closer to their goal, only to have it flop miserably? Right? Months of lost progress, spending a lot of time on something that actually you shouldn't have been spending time on at all. Opportunities that you never see. Things are going to happen and you may not even be aware that you had a chance to do something that would have actually opened the door for your business. New technologies are emerging every single day. There are other people out there that are doing what you're trying to do successfully, and you could have learned from them. But instead, you were just stabbing blindly in the dark. And there's the momentum that you will never get back, right? You can't get that time back. You'll never be able to go back in the Wayback Machine and redo it over again. So we all know time is the most precious commodity. There is no getting it back. And it's way too valuable to just give it away by trying things without the benefit of peer advisory groups. That's why a lot of people join mastermind groups. That's why world leaders have cabinets. That's why Fortune 500 companies, the CEOs surround themselves with the brightest individuals because they know that they cannot do this alone. And they're going to go farther if they have the right people in the room. And what's at stake? One wrong call on pricing, hiring, or positioning can set you back years. So if you can relate to this, if you've felt this pain or pressure, then you know that AI promises something really, really cool. It's supposed to be the thing that helps you go to market faster, answer your questions, program things faster, create automations. But people are not using it the right way. And so the struggle continues. Now, why am I qualified to talk about this at all? Who am I? So here's a little bit about me. I'm a former NYPD officer. I served almost a decade in federal prison. Yeah, not quite the introduction maybe you were expecting. And I made a series of terrible decisions, which is why I tell people that I'm uniquely qualified to talk about decision intelligence, which is the field that I specialize in today. I spent 18 months in solitary confinement, and my mind was put through the ringer. I mean, I had to rebuild myself and rewire myself to think in terms of systems, analytical constructs, to change the way that I was making decisions, because obviously the way that I was doing it before did not get me very far. Today, I'm the director of business intelligence for a multi-million-dollar consulting firm, and I'm the founder of Stark Analytics. As I said, I specialize in the field of decision intelligence, and that is blending data analytics, business intelligence, and AI to help leadership teams make critical decisions. As I said, I know what a bad decision costs because it costs me everything. It costs me my career, my freedom, and years of my life. So how did this all begin? Well, yep, that's supposed to be me, at least what AI thinks I looked like back then. There was a book, and it was a book that changed everything for me. Some of you may have read this before. It's Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. I read it while I was in solitary confinement. And in the final chapter, it describes this idea, this thing that Napoleon Hill used to do, and he called it the invisible counselors. He would hold a structured advisory session. He would bring the experts to the table in his mind, in his imagination, that he wished that he had helping him with his decision, the people that he admired the most. These were people like Lincoln, Ford, Edison, Carnegie, the great minds of his time. Now, he didn't literally have these people sitting at a table with him. He would close his eyes and he would imagine that they were there to help him pressure test his ideas, counsel him, advise him, and help him make better decisions. So I said, why not? I started doing this. For me, it was a survival practice because there was nobody else in that room, but I knew that I needed to be able to make better decisions. And I had to try to talk to somebody about what was going to be different on the other side. What was I going to do with my life? So I started doing that practice and it became a daily ritual for me. And it honestly helped keep me sane. It sharpened my decision-making skills. And the method itself was just like Napoleon Hill, convening an imaginary board of the greatest minds that I knew, which for me included some of the people that I've read about in history books. I'm a big Iron Man fan, so I had Tony Stark there sitting at my table. I had my dad at the time. Like I just put everybody together that I wish I had advising me. You see in the picture there, got Jesus Christ, advising on morality, on spiritual matters. You can have a military expert advising you on strategy. These are the imagination practices that I did every single day to just put my ideas to the test. And the result, well, it was a more disciplined and structured practice that outlasted that prison cell, and it became the foundation of a new way to make better decisions. So I had an idea, and this idea came from that book, but it changed the way that I run my business. It changed the way that I think about business, and it definitely changed the way that I think about decision making. So after spending 2 years learning and implementing different AI tools, I had this crazy idea. What if I could build what Napoleon Hill had described? It would revolutionize how I ran my business and my life. So I developed a process where each advisor, right, these individuals that Napoleon Hill described, you bring in these great minds, each advisor is constructed through a multi-platform research process into their actual books, their interviews, their speeches, their decision-making frameworks. Think about this. If you wanted to become an expert on a particular subject matter or a particular person, somebody in your field that you watch their YouTube videos, you read their books, you could become an expert in that person. You can become an expert in Abraham Lincoln, so much so that after spending years studying the writings of Lincoln, everything that's been written about him, memoirs, historical artifacts, you could get to the point where you could almost imagine what he would say in a certain situation, how he would advise you for a particular problem, idea, or something that you were struggling with. And this concept is called theory of mind. This is the idea that you can actually imagine what somebody else would say or do based on how well you know them. And so the insight was I could assemble a group of the world's most brilliant minds, the experts that I wished that I had, helping me with my business, my ideas, and my decisions. And that would lead to a transformation. I would no longer be stabbing in the dark. I would be running my ideas by a mastermind board of geniuses in their respective fields. And the result? Well, I'd have a super-powered board of advisors that would come up with ideas and questions that I would have never considered on my own. Have you ever asked a friend that's really, really smart at one particular subject, and the things that they ask, the ideas that they come up with, you would have just never thought of it? And that's the whole point, right? If you are an expert in something, you think on a different level. If I were to ask somebody that spent their entire life studying finances and tax architecture, I guarantee you they could find some pretty creative ways to save me money on taxes that I would have never dreamt of. Now, every world leader actually already does this, and every world-class CEO that's running a powerful company, they have a cabinet or a board that pressure tests their ideas. That's exactly what the Stark Advisory Board was built for. So you have one board, right? And at this point, you might already be imagining who you would have on your board. If you could pick any 5 individuals, it's kind of like a game. It could be a fictitious character, so real or make-believe, dead or alive, it doesn't matter. But if you could have any 5 people sitting at a table right now, and they were strictly there to help you with your business and to listen to your ideas and to help hold you accountable and pressure test all the things that you wanted to run by your board, who would they be? Now, once you've actually assembled that board, how would you use that board? And here are some of the applications. You could use that board to help you with strategy and positioning in the market. You can have them help you with crafting a specific offer or brand positioning, strategic pivots, innovation. You can use them obviously for marketing and sales. I don't know about you, but I'm not an expert salesperson. I haven't mastered all the dark arts of emotional leveraging and manipulation tactics that all the gurus say that you can use to close that deal. Yeah, that's not me. But you know what? I know a lot of people that are really good at communication, and they can take some of the gibberish that I can put out into the world about what the technical sides of a product are, and they can translate it into plain English. And those are the people that I wish I had helping me to translate the stuff that I'm doing into something that resonates with the marketplace. So you can have an advisory board that helps you with marketing and sales. People in operations. Business owners have to make hiring decisions. You have to figure out how to structure your team. You have to think about how you're going to operationalize the resources that you have. There are people out there that are operations experts. Products and growth. Product development, go-to-market strategies, and growth planning. If you follow somebody like Laila or Alex Hormozi, or if you really appreciated the impact that Sheryl Sandberg had in the development of Facebook, now mind you, I'm throwing names out there, and what your opinion is of these individuals doesn't matter because they have actually established themselves as experts and they have a following. You are going to have your own set of experts and people that you trust. And if you don't know who those people are, go take a look at your social media feed. Who are the people that you watch their videos? Who are the people that their names can be found on your bookshelves? Who are the people that if you could have even just for 1 hour, you really believe they could transform your business and get you to that next level? So I can sit here and talk about how I built it. I can talk about how much fun it is to use. I can talk about how the product works and the impact it's had on my life. But the whole point of this time together, the whole reason why I put this time for us on the calendar was because I wanted to hear from other individuals and pressure test this live. I want to give people in the chat, I want to give people the opportunity to ask questions. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch out of presentation mode, and I'm just going to pull up the advisory board. And you'll see that it's currently in a Claude environment. This construct works with any of the 4 major LLMs. So whether that be ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, or Perplexity, you can use this in any one of them. I happen to particularly like Claude, so I built out my Stark advisory board inside of Claude, and I'm going to switch to that now, and I'm going to take questions. So start thinking about it right now. I want you to put questions in the chat that you're going to pose to my advisory board. And when I switch the screen here, you're going to see who are the members of the board. I kept it nice and simple. I have 4 members on this board. And then I'm going to take live questions for people that are trying to make a decision, or they just want to see how this thing is going to respond. Let's do that live right now. Okay, so on this board, we have Elon Musk. We have Gary Vaynerchuk, also known as Gary V, Grant Cardone, and Laila Hormozi. If you know who some of those people are, great. If you don't, here's a quick little summary of what they're known for, what they do, and my board is ready and operational. Now, this is a demo board, obviously, because the really powerful part is once you actually have a board set up, it gets to know you. It gets to know your context. And so obviously I created this for the experience that we're about to have. So it's not going to do it based off of me, what it knows about Christian Torres. It's not going to respond based on what it knows about Stark Analytics. It's going to be ready to field questions from the audience. So do we have any questions in the chat that we'd like to present to this board of experts so you can see how this thing actually works? Let's see. When do we get to the building? Let's see. I'm looking in the chat. Does anybody have any questions that they want to put to the board to test this out? It could be something that you're struggling with. It could be an idea that you've had, or it could be simply, hey, I'm Bob. I have a plumbing company and I need to know, how do I get more customers within a 50-mile radius? Anything like that are exactly the types of questions that we want to pose to the board. And if we don't have any because people are feeling shy, that's totally okay too. Oh, here we go. Okay, we have one now coming in from Stacy. So this said, I teach others how to elevate their client experiences. What is the best way for me to find my fastest path to make quick sales? That is literally the thing that every business owner is always trying to answer. I do this thing. I'm really good at this thing. What is the best way for me to find a fast path to help the people that need my help so that I can make money, which is what we all got in business for, right? Everybody needs to pay their bills. So how do we translate the business, the skill into actual cash and do it efficiently? So I'm going to copy that exact question and put it right into the chat. And then we'll see what this panel of experts actually comes back and says. And if you use a lot of these tools, you'll know that when you're in extended mode, it is going to take its time. So right now it's actually going through and referencing each individual member's playbook, which is every single thing that was compiled from the public domain about this individual, their tactics, their approaches, their methodology, their teachings, their content. This scrapes YouTube videos. It has the transcripts, every book they've written, articles written by them or about them, blog posts, everything. Okay, so now, great question, and one the board has strong and divergent opinions on. Let's bring it all together. So what does Elon Musk say? He says, I'd push back on the framing. Fastest path to quick sales, that's reasoning by analogy. Everybody in your space is asking the same question and getting the same answer. Drop it one level lower. Wow. Okay, so immediately Elon Musk comes and says, you're asking the wrong question. Now, that's a very different experience from what you normally see with something like ChatGPT or even Claude. If you just asked it to help you with something, if you say, how do I make more money? What is it going to do? It normally would just say, yes, of course, I can help you with that. Here are 6 steps on how you can make money faster. Instead, this board, beginning with Elon, says, actually, that's the wrong question to ask. And so he goes into detail. What does your service actually do? Not the marketing language. What transformation actually happens? What inputs go into and out of? No surprise here. He's all about first principles. He's going to speak from his unique perspective and explain exactly why he's advising you in this way. Now, I'm not going to read verbatim every single thing, but we have Elon Musk's perspective here. It sources exactly the part of his persona profile, where this is coming from, his exact 5-step process called the algorithm, first principles thinking. Then we get into Gary Vee. What does Gary Vee have to say? Before I answer your question, I need to reframe it. You said quick sales. Stacy, I don't know. So far, the board is not happy with your language. And that's okay, right? We need that pressure testing. What I heard is I haven't been putting in the organic work, and now I want a shortcut. Okay. This is my favorite part of using these kinds of advisory boards because they do not hold back. They are going to actually, they're going to push back. They're going to tell you, are you sure you're asking the right question? Or more importantly, are you trying to take a shortcut that you shouldn't be taking? Are you trying to skip a couple of steps? And they're going to call you out on it. So you teach client experience elevation. That means you have something genuinely valuable. Great. Okay. I mean, that's awesome. The problem is your offer. The problem is nobody knows you exist, or not enough people do. And then Gary Vee is going to go into how do you get more people to know that you exist. Grant Cardone, stop overcomplicating this. The math doesn't lie. Okay, this guy is going to go right to the tactics. He's just going to say, you want to make X amount of money. Let's do the math. Let's talk about the tactics. He's not talking about the first principles or the concept. Should you be asking this question from a philosophical standpoint? He's getting right down to the brass tacks. You want quick sales? Answer one question. Who has your money? Right now, today, who are the people that need what you teach, have the budget to pay for it, and haven't heard from you yet? Write that list, then contact every single one of them, right? So you can already see that these people on the board have very, very different perspectives. They have different approaches, and they're going to give you different sets of suggestions. Likewise, you move down to Laila. Everyone else is going to tell you how to sell harder or post more. That's kind of what the other people said, right? So now we have somebody on the board that's saying, yeah, other people might tell you how to sell harder or how to post more, how to get more visibility. I'm going to tell you something different. You probably don't have a sales problem. You have an offer problem and a systems problem. So now she's going to go into the systems that are behind the scenes that are leading to this problem that you're experiencing. So it's fascinating. And every time I do this, I find myself so intrigued with the way that each expert replies with their unique experience. But that would be helpful enough by itself, right? Imagine if you could have Laila, Gary, you could have Elon, all giving you their unique perspective on your problem or question. But that's not enough, because now you know a couple of different opinions from different experts, which you definitely should not take with a grain of salt. These are people that are titans in their industry. But how do you get it all together? And so the board synthesis brings it all together, and it tells you what you can take away from all of those opinions combined. The board has a genuine split here, and that split is the answer. Cardone is right that this is ultimately a math and activity problem. If you aren't having enough conversions, then nothing else matters. Vaynerchuk is right in 2026, organic content is the most effective way to generate conversations at scale without spending capital. Hormozi is right that none of the volume matters if the offer isn't clear. And then talks about, and Musk is right that if the underlying product isn't undeniably better, you're pouring effort into a leaky bucket. Board recommends sequence and order matters here. First, fix the offer. You get it to one sentence. Outcome, timeline, certainty. Second, document a repeatable sales process so it's not dependent on your personal energy on any given day or any given Tuesday. Third, go back to your unconverted leads from the last 90 days. That's your fastest cash. And fourth, start positioning 5+ pieces of content per day showing what you actually do, because that's your midterm pipeline. Fifth, do the contact math and make sure that your daily activity supports the revenue number that you actually want. Quick sales aren't found, they're engineered. Offer first, system second, activity third. What is the best? Let's see. I'm going to take this one from Sharon here. I'm a B2B product marketer. Where should I focus my external marketing efforts to get new and existing clients to add digital marketing products with little differentiation into the consideration set? All right. So I'm going to put that to the board here. And obviously, because of time, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but we're going to jump to the consensus of the board. By this time, hopefully you're seeing the power of this, how it actually works. If you're wondering, what is the Gary Vaynerchuk playbook, the Elon Musk playbook? While this is running in the background right now, this is the culmination of hours and hours of deep research on each individual persona, ran through about 9 different layers of AI tools that specialize in different kinds of research. And it's all combined for one purpose, to make sure that we can achieve this ideal, this concept called theory of mind, which results in a resource that actually represents how they think, how they would respond, what they value, and how they would actually advise you in this scenario as your advisory board. So Elon Musk is going to present this. And actually, for those of you that are in the chat right now, I'm going to copy and paste these responses and I'll send them out to you. If you attended and your email's on here, I'm going to send this to you so that you can read through these more thoroughly later. So that way, Sharon, I'm not going to deprive you of the opportunity to read through exactly what Elon has to say and what Gary has to say, but we'll skip here to the end. It's wrapping up grants right now. It's going to be here, and then it's going into later. So I'll give you another example here while this is wrapping up. I posed a question to my board the other day. This was 2 days ago, and I had seen this tool on Facebook that looked really intriguing. It was a, prospecting agent, an AI agent, they're all over the place, that was going to help me with prospecting. And I brought the screenshot to the board and said, hey, what do you think about this? And my board shut me down. It said, Christian, you have this strategic briefing coming up on Thursday at 1 p.m. You need to be focused just on that. Do not get distracted, because I suffer from shiny thing syndrome. Do not get distracted. Do not deviate. Do not deflect. Do not procrastinate. Focus on one thing. Now, in my mind, I'm like, whatever, shut up. I didn't want to hear that. I just wanted the answer. But it's holding me accountable, and it knows my style, it knows my strengths, and it knows my weaknesses. This is the kind of experience that I've been having with my. So in response to Sharon's question, the board has a meaningful split, and the split itself is the insight. Musk challenges whether this is the right question. If the product truly has no differentiation, the marketing budget is compensating for a product gap. That's a hard truth worth sitting with, but it's also the least actionable for a product marketer who may not control the product roadmap. The 3 remaining advisors converge on a more actionable frame. When the product is commoditized, differentiation migrates to 3 other layers: brand, offer structure, and sales intensity. Vaynerchuk owns the brand layer in an interest media world, not social media, interest media. The company that shows up most consistently with a relevant point of view earns the consideration set position. Hormozi owns offer layer. Repackage the same capability around a specific guaranteed outcome, and you suddenly sound nothing like the competition. Cardone owns the activity layer. Omnipresence plus outbound volume ensures you're in front of more buyers than anyone else. And so then it gives you the board recommendation and priority sequence. First, fix the offer language, move from feature-based to outcome-based positioning. You don't need a new product, you need a sharper promise. Second, build a systematic upsell process for existing clients. This is the fastest revenue with the lowest acquisition cost. And right now it's probably running on hope instead of a system. All right. I said, I'm going to copy all this, and just keep in mind, this right now, this board doesn't know who Stacy is. It doesn't know who Sharon is. But the way that this is actually set up, like the way my board is set up, is I completed about 25 questionnaires. It's a form. It learns about me. It learns through context. And so when I go to my board and I say, I need help on how to plan the next 60 days of content or my marketing efforts, it knows my company, it knows my products, it knows my pricing, it knows exactly the strengths and weaknesses of those products and the offerings. It knows where it stands in the market. It knows where I excel. And it also knows where I tend to procrastinate, drag my feet. It knows where I need help. And this is just the beginning, because this is 4 members that I chose for this demo, but every single person has that list of individuals that they wish they had sitting at their table. So go back to the presentation here, because we have to think about one more thing. How is this different than just going to ChatGPT and asking a question? Well, because that's a generic AI tool. And generic AI is going to give you one-size-fits-all responses. It's sourced from a wide net of internet scrapes. No accountability or tension, right? I mean, you can ask ChatGPT, you can say, ChatGPT, I have this brilliant idea. I want to start a line of mechanical pencils that smell like flowers. And you know what it's going to say? That's a brilliant idea. Here's a 12-step process. And if you come back a day later in the same chat and say, actually, I think I want to start a line of scented markers instead, it's not going to say, wait, what happened to the pencil idea? It's just going to do whatever you asked it to do. There's no accountability. There's no tension. It's not actually helping you. It's just spitting back whatever you asked for. It agrees with whatever you say, and there's no real decision-making framework. The Stark Advisory Board, you choose the specific people that you want on your board. It's built from deep research into how they actually think. It's calibrated to your communication style and context. And the advisors challenge each other and disagree when needed. Most importantly, they hold you accountable to better decisions. The difference is the depth of research and the specificity of the advisors and the structured tension between them. This is a custom-built intelligence system, not a chatbot with a few personality layer settings. You can tell ChatGPT that you want it to be more analytical or less enthusiastic. That's not going to change the fundamental flaw. Now, is this for you? I don't know. But here's the offer. This is how it actually is structured, because this was built for founders like myself. As I said in the beginning, I built this for me because I'm a solopreneur and I am often faced with the question, am I doing this right? What am I doing wrong? I need help. And I wish that I had $50,000 to just spend, for a private advisory board. People join mastermind groups. People spend time with 7-figure consultants and experts and coaches. That industry is booming. And you know why? Because people need help. Because people actually want experts that know what they're doing to help them and spare them from making a bunch of very, very silly mistakes that are only going to set them back. And so, CEOs, senior leaders that are running $500,000 to $20 million businesses who need better counsel, but they can't justify $50,000 for a traditional board. So I set up these two options. Tier 1 is a core board. It's a one-time payment, $897. You choose 3 to 5 advisors. You come to me and say, I know exactly who I want on my board. These are the people that I read their books, I watch their videos, and I would give anything to have this level of expertise advising me through the perspective of these exact advisors. Deep research, custom build, it goes into whatever LLM you choose to. It could be ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Gemini, and then a live setup session where I'm going to walk you through exactly how to use it. There's going to be demos, there's resources. Obviously, everything is covered and taken care of. And so you can get the core board. Now, you can also say, honestly, I think I need help before that step. I don't know who I want on my board. I don't know who I should have on my board. And so this one is a little bit more in depth. This one's a one-time payment, $14.97, everything in tier 1, and you get up to 7 advisors, but there's also a guided advisory board selection, which means that we're going to first start with what are you actually struggling with? What kind of business are you in? Where are you strong at or weak at right now as far as your team? And then we're going to figure out exactly who are the advisors that would have the biggest impact on your business today. And then we're going to build it out. So tier 2 is a little bit more in depth. And then there's the board evolution plan, because the reality is that you may try this and 6 months from now, you could say, you know what? I think I want to switch up my board. I want to change this. So this plan is $79 per month. This is an add-on to the actual core programs here. You get 6 board member swaps per year, 10 persona updates and recalibration. What that means is you have somebody that you follow, they're on your board, and they come out with a new course, a new book. They're putting more content into the world. And so you want to refresh and update with some new relevant context for that person. You can do up to 10 persona refreshes. And then there's a quarterly strategy session, which is essentially sitting down with the person who created all this, me, to talk about how you're using it. Are you using it the right way? Any tips or tricks that I've learned on how to use it more effectively? Just sitting down and talking about what your experience is with the board so far and working together to figure out how you can get even more out of your board. I think even more importantly is 50% off all future boards, because imagine this. You have a board assembled to help you with your marketing and it's going great. And you say, wow, imagine if I had a totally separate board just focused on finances. Well, you don't want those two boards necessarily commingling. You might want a dedicated board for a totally different department or functional area in your business. So that might be the opportunity to set up a separate board with different advisors. And so anybody that signs up for either of these two would actually get 50% off all future boards as well. As with most things, there's a promo code. There's actually something that's going to get you those lower prices here. Normally, these are priced higher. So there's a code here, 40 off SAB. You use that at checkout, and that's going to give you the opportunity. But you don't have to remember that right now. I'm going to send this presentation out as a link. You're going to get the full recording of this presentation, the transcript, everything. But just remember to use that code 40 off SAB at the checkout, so that way you can get the lower prices. And just consider this, that for less than the cost of 1 hour of traditional expert consulting, do you think that you would even be able to get an hour of any of those people that I just showed on that board, 1 hour of their time for $897? Probably not. So for less than the cost of 1 hour of traditional expert consulting, you get a permanent advisory board made up of the exact people that you want. And it only gets better as you use it more. So the fact is, AI is transforming the way the business is done. A lot of you know that. That's probably why you're here. If you didn't believe that, you wouldn't have signed up for something that was talking about an AI-powered advisory board. But the reality is that the gap is growing every single day. And we've seen it. We have friends, we have business colleagues that use AI like it's a chat bot, like it's a Google search, like it's an assistant that's just there to answer questions, maybe do a little bit of research, help you come up with a plan for something. But a small group is using it to think sharper, decide faster, and lead with clarity that the rest of the room can't even touch. And that gap, it widens every single day. So the leaders who build their board now will operate at a level that others just won't understand until it's too late. The only question left is whether you'll be ahead of the curve or behind it. Because you could spend the next couple of months researching and learning from someone's content. So I'll take Grant Cardone as an example. He's got plenty of books. He's got plenty of YouTube videos out there. You could spend months digesting all of his content, trying to pick up on the 3-step methods or the 5 tips, the 6 most important things, the frameworks that he puts into his books, everything that he's bundled together to give you an advantage. And you could study it, learn it, and then try to implement it. What if you didn't have to do all that? If it was all already available and accessible and actually delivered in his style, the way that he teaches, but made just for you. And then, a couple of other geniuses and billionaires in the room that are going to keep him in check and also are there to help you. That's the vision. That's the power of this. And that's what I've been using every day. It's been fascinating. It's been a wild ride. So I'm going to turn the screen share off here. I want to get back to the meeting. And I'm going to take just some live questions. If anybody wants to, feel free to take yourself off of mute. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to pass the 1:45 time, but I'm happy to answer any questions about how I've been using this, any questions about how it gets implemented, how it works, feel free.
Hi, this is Sharon. Thanks for answering my question earlier. I missed the very beginning. So my question is, how do you get all the source material? So if I were to set up a strategic board and decide Oprah is someone that I want on there, how would I have to say, go look at 25 years worth of episodes, read every book, where does that, what are the sources for building those advisors?
Yeah, great question. You only have to specify who you want on the board. And so what I've been working on for the past couple of months is perfecting the research method, which is way more detailed than just Googling, what does Oprah teach, right? The real secret in the sauce here is the fact that there are so many different AI tools out there right now, and they each have very, very unique strengths. I'll give an example. If you're trying to research the content that someone has put out on YouTube, you're going to get way further using Google's Gemini because Google owns YouTube and it has inherent deep knowledge into the YouTube ecosystem that something like Perplexity does not. But Perplexity is going to do a great job at scanning and synthesizing the information from periodicals, industry journals. That's a different set of sources. And so what I've done is created that multi-layer, multi-platform research approach that it goes through every single piece of public content that this person ever put into the world, which includes blog articles, articles written about them, books, frameworks, YouTube transcripts, in order to create this persona profile, which then is what actually gets loaded into the project and represents that person as part of your board.
Thank you. That's helpful to understand.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. And please, if you have any thoughts after this, if you find yourself later on today saying, that's an interesting concept. I've got this burning question, or I just don't know if I could use it for this. One interesting question that came out of a recent conversation I had with someone said, "Can I use this for a nonprofit?" Said, yeah, absolutely. Because nonprofits have boards, nonprofits have roundtables, have groups of people that come together to help advance the mission of that nonprofit organization. So it can be used for nonprofits. It can be used for small businesses. You could be a solopreneur. You could be a multi-million-dollar company. And at the end of the day, this could be an additional layer that is used to assist your executive leadership team in pressure testing ideas before you ever spend a single dollar on something that you hope was a good idea, right? This is the pinnacle of thinking, is being able to have thoughts and ideas, but then also recognizing that that doesn't mean that it's a good idea, that other people have opposing ideas or complementary ideas, and that the truth usually lies somewhere in the middle. None of us are perfect. No one here, to my knowledge, I could be wrong, no one here is running a multi-billion-dollar company and doesn't have to worry about finances for generations to come because we cracked the code, we solved, some magical problem. We're all trying to build something. And what this does is it creates a layer that allows you to do some of that critical strategic thinking and test some of those ideas and help you to learn and do things and bring up questions that are going to get you where you want to go so much faster versus just throwing darts at a wall. That's been my experience. And again, thank you all for taking some time out to spend with me today. Hopefully you saw some of the value in this. You can reach out, obviously through my company, Stark Analytics. You'll all get the recording and the email. And I just hope everybody has a wonderful day and take care.